Oh, wait.
I feel fine.
I'm sorry.
Why are we listening to that song today, Stacy?
I heard it, and honestly, because of the week I've had with all the
Right.
school craziness and all the tech challenges with school and everybody doing something different, I've been pulling my hair out. So I'm like, that just seems fitting.
I absolutely agree, because it's like you're going through all those craziness, and I'm just getting a note that says, "Oh, school is now postponed again till next Wednesday," and I'm like, "Cool."
Okay. It's been one of those weeks, and it was only the funny part is that it was 2 days, like it was yesterday and today, because Wednesday really didn't count. So
it's funny. I feel like I don't even feel like there's school anymore. Like it's not even something that exists.
Well, it's weird when it's like they come home and it's noon. Yeah. I'm like, what are you doing here? Why are you home?
I just finished my coffee.
I barely finished breakfast. It's so weird. And then they're here in the afternoon and it's like, oh, shoot, you've got another class. And like it's a weird, it's very, I'm finding it very difficult. But again, it's only first week. So it hasn't been good. I don't know what other parents are doing. Like I'm, as you know, extremely tech savvy. If anyone can figure out an app, it's me. So thank goodness for Google.
Yeah, like that's why, I'm not even stressing. Mine's in virtual school. And, we ran a really, really easy, run through in the spring on virtual school. I'm not worried about it at all. But again, I know that for people, especially ones that are going into grade 9 who don't really know the school and don't know all the tech, and with yours is a little different because you're doing it from your school, where mine's going to now a virtual school.
Which is better because we have, like my grade 9, we have his gym teacher trying to figure out how to get on Microsoft Teams.
I can't even imagine what a gym class looks like, but
well, it's funny because they have the Nike app.
Right.
And they have to log their workout and take pictures. It's just so funny. Like, okay.
Hey, I want to take that class.
It's kind of cool. I'm like, I've never downloaded the Nike app.
That sounds way more fun than some of the stuff we did in gym.
Right? Yeah, we're kind of jealous, I have to say. To a certain
hey, everyone. I know Friday is free for all, and I know today, this week, we talked about audiences and stuff, and I know a lot there. We have probably very few spectators on tonight because there's basketball.
No, but it doesn't start till 9:00 Eastern.
Okay.
So the Raptors, for you guys who are not basketball fans,
yay, Raptors.
We're in Canada. We're rooting for the Raptors. They're playing the Celtics in Game 7.
Sorry for the people from Boston.
They're playing tonight. Yeah, exactly. So obviously the Raptors are the underdogs. They're playing at 9:00 Eastern tonight. So it's a big.
What was interesting? Interesting I saw last night, football started, and I'm sure you had to watch it. I don't watch football, but I know your husband's a big football fan. And did you know, like, they're allowing 20%
I saw that. I was like, there's fans.
There's fans, and a lot of people have no masks, like on the sidelines and stuff. And I was like, I don't understand. Like, I didn't get it.
I saw some people that didn't have masks and then full face shield and mask.
Yeah.
So it was interesting to see what that looked like.
So who knows what's going to happen with that mess. I think that's the only sport that's actually allowing fans, right?
It was weird.
Very weird.
Well, Faye, I took your advice.
You did.
I did, and you were right.
Really?
So cheers to that.
So what was I right on?
So you told us, and I thought I would take the same advice because I want people to know that it's not just hearsay. Like, we don't just say it to do it. We actually do it ourselves as well. Yeah. So one of the things that you suggested in regards to understanding your audience and maybe seeing what they want is to simply ask them.
Right.
What a concept.
Yep.
So I had a choice to make. So I'm launching season 3 of my podcast, and I want new podcast art. Yeah. So I got the the options last night.
Yeah.
And I looked at them and I'm like, oh, I really like this one.
Yeah.
And, but I didn't tell Faye which one. So I sent it to her and I'm like, what do you think? And you gave me your opinion, which was, I can't
not
remember.
The one you liked.
You said number 1 and number 3. I like number 7. So I'm not going to show them or whatever. But so I put it in some general groups in my own group. But what I wanted to do was, again, following the advice that we gave, which was go to a group that is your target audience.
Yeah.
So I went to a group that I belong to, and it was for new and upcoming podcasters. So these are not podcast producers. These are podcasters. So these are ones that have shows or want to have a show or want to get started. Perfect group for me. So I put it in there and I got about 100 people responding.
Yes.
Approximately.
And let me guess, they picked the one I liked.
85 people. This is how many people. So when you guys think, like literally, when you guys think that, well, why would I ask? Would anybody answer? I had 85 different people chime in on with their opinion.
Right.
And not only did they chime in with what number they wanted, they chimed in with recommendations. Mm-hmm. People are always willing to give you advice.
Yeah.
Really quick and easy. But 85 people chose number 3. I had 100 people who responded.
Yeah. So
that's crazy. So
yeah, and you really need to, if you're unsure or if you're like dead set on something, you still should ask, because the truth is, especially in graphics, if it's you in the graphic, you cannot look at yourself objectively. You cannot. So I know for a fact that every time, Spencer takes my pictures, she always picks the ones I don't like. And I always go, oh, I don't like that picture. And then, 6 months later, I go, oh, you're right. That's the right picture. Right. So when I saw yours, to me, that was like bang, vibrant. It spoke to you. It was like bang on. And so I remember we were talking and I was like, well, I don't understand why you even look at it the other way. It wasn't even like.
But it was funny because that, I would say probably, I can't remember, maybe 10 to 15 people literally said, I didn't even see any other ones.
Right.
They only saw that one because that was the only, they literally, it was fascinating, the comments and stuff like that. So again, if you don't think that they have an opinion, they do.
Yeah.
But find out from a collective group of people that would be your audience.
So you guys understand, we talked a lot in course creation last night. For those of you who are in the Ask a Mentor group, we were talking a lot about sales pages and making sure that you make it vibrant. And, what people don't really understand is that the image is far more important than anything else that you're going to post anywhere. If it doesn't make sense with what you're selling or what you're doing, people will continue to scroll by it. So they have to see it. So, we were having this debate too about, when podcast people put microphones in their podcast art. I think it's fine. A lot of people disagree, but what they're looking at is it from an image of just on the podcast. Of course, they know there's a microphone because it's a podcast, but
because they're on the podcast directory.
However, if you post it in an Instagram feed, the microphone will tell them, oh, it's about a podcast, or it's a radio show, or it's an audio.
Yeah.
So, I think you have to look at the big picture of what you're doing. So it's equally as important as sales page, right? So, and then the headline obviously has to work with the picture to make sure your audience knows what you're talking about. So you pick the picture that the audience likes, which I'm assuming Stacy just did, and not.
Well, I may have said, I haven't told the bigger group what the winner is. I told the few because I had about 15 in a smaller group. Yeah. The numbers were very mixed in that group, but again, a lot of people in that group are not my target, so I took it with a grain of salt. Yeah, but still, that was the winner overall.
Yeah. So I mean, that's obviously really. It's always, we talked all week long about your understanding your audience, right? You have to give the audience what they want. It's not about you. It's about what you give them, the value, the headlines, everything matches for them, not for you. So if you keep that in mind, you will get far more people that are interested in what you have to say.
Yeah. So we do practice what we preach.
Yes,
Absolutely.
and I posted in 2 of my groups. I had an idea about a program, and I said, please answer yes if you're interested in us to do a live training on this. And we had a lot of positive responses. So I haven't announced it to those people yet, but yes, so we're going to do that training. So if I had had like one person that said yes, I probably wouldn't have spent any time on it. But I posted in 2 very different groups to make sure that the feedback was good, and everyone is very eager to learn it. So I'm like, okay, that means I can spend my time doing that. So it is really, really great to find that out, because sometimes, you'll tell your friend, oh, what do you think of this idea? And they'll of course say, that's a great idea, because they're your friend.
Well, that's why I wanted to go to a group that actually doesn't know me.
Right.
They're filled with, again, my target audience, but they don't know me personally. So there was no, let me say this to make you feel better. Oh, I knew you would have picked this one. It didn't matter.
Right.
They literally went with exactly what they saw, which is exactly what I wanted. So it was a great sort of experiment.
Yeah.
So yeah. So again, you were right.
I like being right.
Here live in front of people.
I like being right.
Well, it is cool. So
do we have any questions? Have you got any questions, DMs, anything that's come up on audiences, and any specifics or anything else we talked about this week, whether it was on a different group or not?
I think the biggest questions that are coming through is about email marketing and lists and building lists, and how do you continue? So one of the big questions that we got, so, okay, if you think about the process, got the lead magnet, I have names on my list, and then the now what? So what's the most effective way to communicate now to that list?
Yeah. So
I think, and what are the ideas to incorporate into the email?
Well, there's a couple of things. There's 2 different ways to talk to your list, right? You can do a broadcast or a newsletter, which is timely, which means it goes out. You wrote it today. It goes out to everyone on your list who's on it today, right? And then it's never seen again. And then the other one is a sequence, which is far more preferable, because a sequence you write, you can keep writing, and say you wrote your first one for the sequence a year ago. Well, when the new person comes in, they start in week 1. So they're just continually getting information. And I think the mistake people make is that they believe that if they're writing once a week a news blast, that they're somehow going to be effective. The problem is when you write a newsletter, and say you have a theme for the month. So say you're in, you're talking about sales pages, because that's what I was talking about this week. So I was talking about sales pages, and every week I'm sending out a sales page news blast, a newsletter, right? Well, all of a sudden somebody comes onto my list, last week, they missed the first 3. They have no idea what I'm talking about. So it doesn't make sense. So you have to make sure you distinguish between what a newsletter is and what a sequence is.
Yes.
So a newsletter should really be about stuff that's coming up for you, right? That might be, you might be having live events, or you're launching a product that is a true launch, not an evergreen. So you're not doing it over and over again. That's really what a newsletter should be about. It shouldn't be generic stuff. So what I suggest is, if you have a lot of newsletters that aren't time sensitive, so they don't have anything attached to them like events, take all of those and now put them into a sequence. And now you've got, a whole lot of information. But that's number 1. So that's the first thing that you have to distinguish. And then the second thing is very clear, and that's all we ever talk about, is if it doesn't add value, please don't send anything out.
Yeah. So what do you prefer? Because, it's really interesting. So I really like this one guy's emails. And it's a really interesting mix of one-lines to really lengthy emails to kind of everything in between. So I guess maybe I'm answering my own question, but what I really like about, I don't even know if there's sequences, because I've been on his list forever. I'm sure now he sends stuff out all the time, but I open every one of them, and I gain value from every one of them, including just the one-liners.
Right.
So that's my preference. I like that because I like the variety of information that he presents.
Well, I don't know if you like the variety. I think you just like the value.
Okay.
Right. Like, I mean, I don't think you really care. If all of his stuff was one line, but he added value, you'd like them. If they were all long, but they added value, you'd like those too.
True. But I do like, sometimes I open them up and they're really short. And I'm like, oh, that was actually really good. It was like really poignant.
Yeah.
And then sometimes I know later, because I've been following him for so long, I'll see that similar information, but he'll expand on it. So he definitely does the similar value, but I like that.
Yeah. I mean, I think it doesn't really matter. It's just about value. That's all it is. I just, I know that 99% of what I open is a sequence because unless there is something time sensitive, as I said, unless they say they're doing a live event, a virtual summit, they're doing a live workshop, unless it's something that's timely, then there's no reason to put it in just a newsletter. Right. So, I mean, I think what you're doing by doing that, and okay, so I should backtrack a bit because, the last, I would say 6 to 8 months, everybody's been saying, oh, newsletters are back, right? Newsletters are back. No, they're not. It's because most people are home and they're opening their emails. That's all.
Exactly.
So they're opening their sequences too. They're just opening everything because they were bored and had nothing to do. So it's not really that it's back or not. It's never gone away. Some people have, left because they weren't doing anything that was more timely. But again, think about it. Say you have this, you put out a newsletter that's really great information. You're doing LinkedIn. So really good information on something generic on LinkedIn. So the top thing that you should write about on your headline.
Yeah.
Why would you send it out once and then never send it again? Right? Because like right now you might have, say you have one person, but in 2 weeks you might have two people. So that second person never gets to read it. Right?
Yeah, it's true.
More than two, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we're going to grow.
Yeah. So I think it goes back to the same thing. It's, if we get any questions, the same thing. How do I grow my Facebook audience? How do I look? We're growing. How do we grow it? Because we're on here every single day.
But you know what? Actually, that's interesting that you say that because literally, I don't even know who it was because I'm on a million lists. That was the one thing. It was a really short one. It wasn't from the same person, but literally they said the best way to grow email, social media, whatever you want to do, is consistency. Yeah, and that's all it takes. If you are consistent with what you do, you will grow as long as you're being consistent in front of the right people.
And so you guys understand very clearly. We talk a great deal about the list, and it is important. Okay, don't get us wrong; it's incredibly important. But the list is also your Facebook followers. Your list is your Instagram followers. Your link is your YouTube followers. So, I mean, I've talked about my kid lots of times. I think he's got almost 400,000 subscribers.
Wow.
Okay. He doesn't have an email list, but he sells a lot of his programs, and they're just little, but he sells a lot of them because all he does is list the sales page in his description underneath all his videos.
Yeah.
And the YouTube people aren't looking to be on your list. They know, they go to your page, they click on what's there, and that's where they go to get something. So if you're sitting there going, I hate emails, you don't need an email list. You really don't. Build up. What do you love? Do you like TikTok? Do you like Reels? Do you like LinkedIn? Doesn't matter. Build whatever it is that you enjoy being on that platform. Like right now, we both like Instagram. It's easy for us, right? It's easy.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's very true. And I don't put a lot of weight necessarily. I do like email sequences. I'm not a big email broadcaster.
Right.
So I don't send an email out every week. I remember many years ago, somebody we both knew, they would be like focused. Like if they don't get that email out on the Friday, they were going to lose their mind.
Yeah.
And they would stay up every night until you start to point out, like, what if you sent it out what if you missed a week?
Nobody notices.
Right. So sometimes that consistency unfortunately can actually work against you.
Yeah.
It can.
Yeah.
Like,
So
that's, especially when it's too much. It's like, oh, well, that's just another email, especially if it's non-valuable. So that's where it goes back to value. This guy sends out probably an email every 2 days, and I open every single one of them. Why? Because I know they're value filled.
Right.
But if he sent one out every day and it had nothing in it, I'd unsubscribe.
Right. But it's valuable to you because you're his audience.
Right.
Right. It's not going to be valuable to everyone because some people would unsubscribe because they don't find it interesting. Right. Yeah. But I think the reason that I love sequences, and all internet marketers do, is because you have targeted specific interests. So that sequence is geared to something they opted in, right? So they're all tied in. So your lead magnet was a specific subject, and the entire sequence that they follow now is on that specific subject. So the odds of them unsubscribing are low. If you send a general newsletter or news blast and it's got things they're not interested in, what do? They unsubscribe,
delete, and then
they were interested in the first thing they wanted, but they weren't interested in the rest of your stuff.
Well, one of the mistakes that I made, so interesting, even before, like way before I knew you, is I would do a lead magnet, because that was, internet marketing 101. So I would do it in lead magnet, and then I would do an email sequence, probably like 3 or 4. And then, then I created a new lead magnet, and then I did the same sequence. So the reason I'm telling that story is because we learn. I mean, that was many, many years ago, back when I was just learning about all of this stuff. That's why I was like BF before Faye.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's so most sequences, so guys, most sequences start the same, and you're doing a little introduction of yourself. So it's going to be the same, but I always preface my introduction very simply as, for those of you who don't know me, or you're new to my list, and then it's okay to say the same story.
Well, that's different, but you're positioning it still
right
as it relates to somebody new coming in,
right?
Not just, yeah. I got some emails back, confusion.
Yeah.
Because
remember, I was doing, I honestly, since the start of the interwebs, so I was doing my feng shui newsletter. I don't know how long ago, maybe it was, I don't know, 25 years ago or so. It was a long time ago. It was before anything. It was like Constant Contact was the only thing that was there. It was very expensive at the time. And I was fortunate to have learned all my mistakes before most people ever got on the internet. So
kind of like you did all your mistakes, like I would say, before phones came out.
Yeah.
When you're like a teenager, like, thank goodness we didn't have social media when we were.
I feel bad for them because they can't do anything without being recorded. The truth is, like, there's nothing private anywhere. So, but you know what? As much as I feel bad, they don't, because that's just their world.
Well, they don't know any different.
No, and that's the same thing when you're talking about newsletters and email sequences. If you don't know any different and you're not really, if you're confused, then just send stuff out, because at least that's better than nothing. Right?
Absolutely.
So, and if you truly only keep in your brain, is this going to add value to somebody? Can somebody take what I have said and make a difference to their life or their business? If you can answer yes to that, then send it out. If it's only about selling something for yourself, like a product or an event or something, then don't bother. Because if you haven't given them anything, then there's no point. Because they're not going to like it. I don't like it. I don't like when people sell me but don't give me anything of value. Because I've already exchanged value with you. I've given you my email, which is huge, right?
Don't abuse that. Don't abuse that.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. So in speaking of not necessarily selling, sometimes we do need to reference the fact that we have things for sale.
Yep.
So at what point? So just to continue on that theme of email lists and stuff like that. At what point in that sequence do you sell something?
Okay, well, you don't sell at the first email.
No. Oh, don't you hate those ones? My biggest pet peeve on LinkedIn is, thank you for the connection request. Can you buy this? Or can we talk about, I want to sell you this. I love the ones that are like, oh, I see you're a insert title here.
Yeah.
I have a product that would help you.
Yeah. I have had so many this week. I was going to send
I don't know who's teaching that stuff, but I've received quite a few recently as well.
Yeah.
A new course out there that I'm not aware of.
I don't know, must be, because I get a lot of them. But, the traditional, so I'm going to go back to sequences. Okay. So tradition, because news blasts, you're not really, it's not the same because you're selling, a live event or something. But sequences is, a lot of people follow, for those of you who know internet marketers, Brendan and Jeff Walker and Frank Kern and all those guys. And it's basically, Brendan calls it an OVO, Jeff Walker calls it PLC. So basically what you're doing is you're giving them their opt-in, right? So they've opted into your list, right? They've opted into your list. So they've opted in. So the very first email, here, let me just preface this. When somebody opts into a lead magnet, deliver it immediately. Don't wait and send it, because if I want something, I want to see it go up on my screen now. I don't want you to send it to me, right? So you go ahead, add it in, whether it's a masterclass or a download. I should click a submit button and it should come up and I can download it if I want, right?
Yeah. Or I'm going to get an email right away with the link because I'm on my phone and I'm sitting in the parking lot and I don't have time to download it.
Right. So you get it instant, and immediately, even if you get it instant, immediately you get an email.
Yeah.
That's one, right? So you get an email that says, hey, just wanted to confirm you got your email. So you got your download. So click on this link. Just, thanks so much for subscribing. Very short and sweet. No, we don't want to talk about anything else. We just want the damn download, right?
Yep, exactly.
So then usually 2 to 4 days later, this is a regular sequence. It's not a launch sequence, but 2 to 4 days later, you send them something of value that's related to it. So it's either steps, check sheet, and a video, whatever you want. It's something of value and it makes sense. It builds. Remember when we talk about it, always builds on the last step. 2 to 4 days after that, you send them another piece of value. So now they've had 3 huge things from you, right? So you've had value 1, which is a lead magnet, value 2, which is the first email, and then 2 or 4 days later, value 3. So again, whatever it is, value, then email 4, 2 to 4 days later again. Now you can make them an offer. But if you're going to make them an offer because they've already enjoyed all this free content, make them an offer that they're interested in. So if you're serious about this, then make them an offer with either a bonus or a discount. And don't give them 10%, because I'm not going to click on a 10% off. It's not going to make me buy. If you tell me 50% off, even though I know that's a lie and it's a marketing thing, and you're not really charging, $1,000. But if it says 50% off, then I'm like, okay, I'm going to click the button to look at it anyway.
Yeah, it's like giving a 5% discount or something. I'm like,
I hate when people do that. To me, that's insulting and that's laziness.
Well, it's waste of time. I don't care. I'm not willing to click for that.
No.
But I think you will click because you've received so much so far. And it's like, wow, if they're willing to give away all of that for free,
what does the offer look like?
Right.
So they will go to your page, make it fabulous. You don't have to give a 50%. What I always recommend to my people, if they can, rather than discounting it, unless it's a beta, I always tell you to discount a beta your first time that you're launching the program, because it usually has kinks in it. But if it's a traditional program, rather than discount, because that's kind of a slippery slope, give them a bonus. So whether it's an extra free masterclass, it's group coaching, it's a free 30-minute strategy session, whatever it is, give them a bonus for being on your list and signing up through your list instead of going directly to a sales page.
Right.
So that's the sequence for me. So you must give minimum your lead magnet and 2 more pieces of value before you can ask me to buy something. Because if you ask me to buy something right away, I'm going to say no. Most people they don't know you, they don't like you, and they don't trust you yet. So
a whole lot of no's.
So you need to prove that you're legit. And listen, we talked about it a little bit yesterday. For a lot of us, we do the same thing. We hem and haw about a program because we really want it, but we're not sure. We don't want to spend the money. And it's a tough decision because, nobody wants to part with their money. I'm like that. And I buy a lot of programs. I'm scared to actually add up how much I've spent in the last 30 years. But anyways.
Don't go to your AppSumo account because the amount of pages, they only show a couple per page. And it's like, ooh, I'm not on the first page anymore.
No, I've probably spent, I'm not lying, I've probably spent more than, including events and everything, more than $100,000 easy. Oh, so you have to understand. So when people are looking at it, they're hemming and hawing and like, I'm not sure, right? I'm not sure. They're not going to part with their money if they're not sure. But if you've added value, they're more likely to click the button.
Yeah.
So, right time, you've answered all their questions. There's a sequence, there's a whole launch sequence that you start with. We talked about it in the other group. I know it's a different group. So we talked about it yesterday, but you really start with first of all, like it's the whole informational overview. So it's the opportunity. So you start with that lead magnet is the opportunity for them to solve their problems. So that lead magnet solves some of their problems. Your second piece of value is all about transformation. So if they use your system, right? So the first one was like, I see it, the whole overview. Second is I understand it. So they understand that how it transforms people. Value can be case studies, right? Tools, lots of things that they can use right away. Third piece of value, right? So I see it, I understand it. And third is always I feel it, which is what's the experience like if I actually own your course? Again, that's value. You have to tell them where they can be, what they would do, what kind of tools they can use, what happens to them, what will the whole course generate. So if they get all those three pieces, those three pillars, by the fourth one, they're going to want to buy your product if it's the solution to what they're looking for. No guarantee, because I download a ton of stuff that I have no desire to buy the product, but I like to see what they're saying, right?
And one of the things you've always said is if you think you have not been part of a sequence, you have. Mm-hmm. I was like, I haven't been part of a sequence. And I'm like, oh, no, there it is. And you start to see the pattern. Once you start to understand it, you start to see the pattern. And sometimes I opt into people just because I want to see their sequence.
Yeah. And there's a very clear script. If you're doing a sideways sales letter. So if you're doing, for those of you who have logged into an opt-in where it's 3 videos, right? You get 3 videos of training and then the offer. It's called a sideways sales letter. And essentially they're taking you on the same thing as a sales letter that you scroll down, but they're going sideways. They're going video 1, 2, and 3, same information. So those scripts are very, almost everybody does them the same, including me. So if you listen to one of mine, if you'd listen to my mastermind scripts or anything, they're my words, but they follow a pattern. And everybody who does well in internet marketing follows the same pattern. I just told you what it is. There's a heck of a lot more to it. There's a lot of steps, but it's always the same. But what's interesting is no matter, I know it, I write them, I speak them, and I still sometimes watch webinars, and then it takes me about halfway before I realize they're on the script.
Right. Yeah.
Because it pertains to what they're selling, not, what I was selling. So it's very different. But
also putting it in their own words.
Yeah.
Too, right? Because you do have to put in your personality. You need to make sure that it sounds like words that you would say if you met them in person. So all of that piece, right? So that's where you don't
So think about, for example, those really like cheesy magazines, and those big, huge full page ads where it was like, lose 20 pounds in 2 days, one of those things. They had they're brilliantly written. The pictures are amazing. They're highly targeted. They're cheesy. I get it. And you're like, I can't believe that works. Yeah, but you read it.
So exactly.
Right. So there is some things that I like completely admire about, like and Stacy does too. We get in feeds, obviously, in our Instagram, especially. And I completely stop and go to the page that like I know is cheesy as hell and I don't want it, but I like have so many accolades for that person because they've followed it, they've targeted well.
Yep.
And they deserve me to actually look at their posts.
Absolutely. And then you get retargeted. And I even admire that more. I'm like, I feel like writing them a note and saying, like, well done.
Exactly.
I mean, good for you.
The number one thing that we can tell you guys is very simple. You know, what made you stop?
Right.
You know, when you were looking at feeds or ads, why did you stop and read it? Because that should give you a very clear guide as to what you should be doing for your audience. Because if it made you stop, then the likelihood is that it made somebody else stop too.
Exactly. Or what was it about the sequence like that you like, or what makes you open an email or something along those lines, right?
Well,
always look at that stuff.
You know, and I'm telling you, those ones lose 40 pounds, whatever. I always read them. I'm not in the market for it, but I just find them fascinating. I'm like, wow, what are they selling now? What did they invent? Right? Oh, it's some other herbal supplement. But I'm like, you know, it's stop. Even though I'm not even interested, I stop. Right?
But sometimes I'm fascinated by ad copy. I'm fascinated by the shiny objects that they have. The sparkly stuff, and what are they highlighting, and what is it actually? So I like processes, right? And systems. So I always like to see how it's all put together. So sometimes and other industries, what you can learn from them, you can actually bring over to your own, which is interesting. Obviously, you know, not talking about weight, but how did they position that?
Well, it's a huge one, because right now the number one thing in online marketing is health and health covers weight loss, meditation, everything you can think of. That's the number one internet marketing feed right now, because everyone's at home, right? And that's what they're doing. They want to, you know, they realize they've been doing nothing and they want to get fit and healthy. And so that's why people like Peloton and Beachbody are making oodles and oodles of money right now. So you see a ton of them, but they've never leave. I mean, you've only got 3 things, right, that you sell. So if you're not selling health, wealth, or relationships, right? Health, wealth, or relationships, then don't sell it. Don't waste your time, because that's where you make your money. And when I talk about wealth, that's anything in business. It's brand building, it's business building.
Anything that can help you make
anything that can help you. Yeah. So, but health, wealth, and relationships, that's where it's at. And don't kid yourself that people are spending money on other things they're not. When they have to,
especially being at home. Like that is like, no.
No, when they're putting their credit card, like, so do you ever go down those rabbit holes where it's totally has nothing to do with you, but you might come up there? It's like, how, like something in your feed is like, you know, what if you're dating a Sagittarius man or something weird like that, right? And then you just like, and if your husband or your friend or whoever happens to be set, you just like go down that rabbit hole. And then there's a whole course on the signs, you know, what, how do you text them? How do you talk to them? Like, that's a relationship thing, right?
Oh my God, you go down so many rabbit holes.
So many rabbit holes, because I don't sleep. So I'm up a lot at night and I go down all these, and I found what, that's kind of what I saw the other night. And I found it fascinating because I was trying to figure out, I guess people are buying this, like how to text your, whatever it is. I don't remember the sign, but how to text your, you know, I'm just picking one, Sagittarius man, like what kind of text they like. Well, seriously, like that, and it's like, I know it sells because they're advertising. It's not a regular post. It's a sponsored post. It means they're putting money behind it, which means that it's selling.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So I
wouldn't even think that's a thing.
But I was like, I actually loved it. If I needed it, I would have bought it. Right.
But if you know what's different
is that I was single and I was dating somebody that was driving me crazy, I would be like, maybe this will help. Right.
Well, you got to think, what is somebody Googling? How do I?
Well, how did it get in my feed? I don't know. Because they targeted people that my age who are looking at I don't know. I don't even know how I got targeted, but it was in my feed.
Well, that's even more funny. But you're right. I think not necessarily the randomness, but it stopped you because that's a thing. And you mention that and you look and you go, oh my God, that's actually.
And I literally, Stacey, this is not a lie. It was like $37. I still remember the price point. And I have no use for this product at all because it was targeted one specific.
Very specific. You're talking about niche? That's niche.
But let me tell you, because I'm a student of copywriting and internet marketing. And so I was so close to going, man, do I even know anybody? Because it was fascinating to me because I was really interested to see what they would actually deliver. Right.
Right.
I didn't buy it, but I came close because I was like, what would they say on how to text your Sagittarius man? Like I was fascinated, but that's what I'm saying. When something makes you stop, even if it seems really cheesy, then stop and see why you stopped. Yeah. What did they say that pulled you in? And then when you go back to talk to your audience, you do the same thing, right?
If I get that ad in my feed because we were talking about it on Facebook and the ears of Google, I'm going to be mad.
Doesn't it sound fun though?
But you're right. Curiosity would get you and be like, what do they teach you? I'm sure they're not selling you a Trello board. No. I'm sure.
So it's the same thing when you're talking to an audience on stage or like us, we're talking live. What we're doing, even though we're rambling, because that's what we do on Fridays, we give value. So whatever we said tonight, we know that you can take back and get value. We don't just talk about crap and not give you anything. So it has to have value no matter. If we're not giving value, we're not going on live. That's all there is to it. So even if we've committed, if we said, oh, we're coming on, Friday free for all, if we don't think we're up to it and we don't have anything to say, then we're going black.
We're going to cancel because otherwise we're wasting our time and yours.
Yeah. So you need to think the same way. If you have nothing to say, then please don't post. Don't post.
It's true.
I'm interested. I don't really, unless, if you want to post some fabulous dinner that you did, cool. If you put the recipe, okay, maybe I might be interested. But if you post a picture, like when I post pictures I'm at a restaurant, I'll post that I love this restaurant so people will go. Or when I'm at a concert, I post a lot of live feeds, but that's really for Stacey. So
we appreciate that.
But I'm showing you the artist, right? But don't post something just to post. It's kind of weird to me.
Well, I think that's the thing that people, the rut that people get into is because they feel like they have to post every day. So when they feel like they have to post every day, they end up posting just for the sake of, okay,
right,
I'm good. I did my post and I'm out of here. And it doesn't work like that. That's not a strategy. That's not anything. So there has to be a reason behind what you're doing and a purpose.
Right.
So.
Do we have any questions? Because I can't read.
That's okay. You know what? Just Debbie Burton's is saying that she agrees. And Linda's saying that this is huge value. And I know other people who are on, typically I can see others, but it's really funny. So I don't know. I'm taking a couple of screenshots because I find the freeze frame, because just for people who don't know why I'm always looking left, is because I have the Facebook feed over here.
Yeah.
I always want to make sure it's playing, it's good, we're not freezing on Facebook. But I also want to be able to see the people's comments because sometimes their names don't come up over on StreamYard. So I want to make sure I see everything. So I'm always constantly making sure everything's working okay.
And I'm always looking forward because I can't see anything and everything's blurry.
But sometimes what ends up happening is my screen on Facebook freezes.
Oh, well, didn't they say there was a problem with it or something today?
Well, no, but I think just if I take my mouse off or whatever, sometimes it stops, and it's hysterical. The freeze frames that I look over because it's like I'm like this, and then you're like this, or like the in between.
Like
yeah. So anyway, that is enjoyable to me, is just to see the freeze frames.
We should actually have people post pictures of them drinking their wine while they're listening to us.
Well, that would be a good idea. Yeah,
we don't feel like we're the only people ever drinking. If you're drinking tea, that's fine. You can post it. We just won't like it. No, I'm only joking. I liked. I like tea. I like coffee. I just like wine better. I only drink coffee and wine. There's only 2 things I drink. So
yeah, this morning I think I needed coffee before the coffee because I was, and I read something. It was funny because I literally posted that, talking about things you post. I posted that 4 years ago. I go through my little, what did I post? And it takes me like this day.
Yeah.
Or whatever. 4 years ago, it's like I need a coffee before the coffee because when I make the coffee without coffee, it doesn't turn out well. And I'm like, oh my God, that's me today.
That's it.
So there's something about today.
I think a lot of people, usually we have more people on Fridays. So because live, I don't know if we do or not, but a lot of people are just stressed out of their mind probably the last couple of days of school. So
it has not been a good experience.
No, this too will,
Well, but the thing is like, I always like to be positive, right? Like I always like to look at things from a different perspective and bring, yeah. I would literally post going, you know what, guys, like literally next week, you're going to look back and go, what was I worried about?
Yeah. And the truth is, if any of your kids are stressed, just go, listen, you're on Star Trek. You are like going the first in the galaxy, Like how cool is that? You can tell stories to all your kids and your grandkids about you were the first guys who got to do virtual school. There's lots of cool things. So
yeah. Well, the way that I bring it back is we kind of joke about their kids' history classes.
Yeah.
So like their kids come home and it was like, my first day of high school was really stressful. And then like my younger one goes, you should, when I was your age, when I was in high school, or when they come back and they're like, Mom, Dad, we were just learning about 2020 and we were joking literally last night. And it's like, well, what month are you at? And they're like, oh, April. Oh, you haven't seen anything yet.
Oh, exactly. Well, I mean,
about that kind of stuff just to keep it light.
Yeah, it's not, because it's not that big a deal. It's like, like I know when I went to see my mom the other day and she said, they grew up in World War II and they said 3 years they didn't go to school.
Oh, really?
For 3 years. And
wow.
Our kids are, worried that they have to wear a mask and they're on a computer. Like, well, what a hardship, right? Right. So, it puts things into perspective when you're like, you'll get through this. You probably pass and the world won't come to an end if you can't log on one day. So, life goes on.
Yeah. So we've had a lot of fun joking around this because you have to.
You can't not take this seriously, guys, because this is like, no, and don't get mad at the schools. Don't get mad at the school boards. You know what? They're doing the best they can. And I'm not I'm not the one that usually supports that side, but they're doing the best they can in an uncharted world.
Yep, absolutely. So I'm literally sending notes of gratitude to the school and the teachers and just saying, you know what, I know that we're all trying to figure this out. Thank you for all the effort that you're putting in that I know is extra than beyond what you were expecting to do as a teacher.
Exactly.
So it's all good. So on that note, I think we will end this Friday night free for all.
Okay. So we'll be back on Monday.
Monday. What are we talking about on Monday?
I don't remember, Stacey.
Hang on, I'm there.
I don't remember what we're talking about.
I have it on my Trello board.
We're training on Monday at 12 p.m. Eastern time in this group. We'll be here live and we'll be talking about.
Wait, hold on. I think that's wrong. Hang on. I've got to go to my other list because I think I made a mistake on that one. We are. How did that happen? Oh, that's right. I did. I looked at the wrong thing. Oh, so funny. Guess what? I don't know how I forgot this one. Guess what we're talking about on Monday?
What?
How to master overwhelm.
That's perfect.
That, you know what? We literally, we obviously knew something when we planned this out.
Yeah, it was just a total random fluke, but it's true because it's true. Now that you mentioned it, we were talking about the fact that everyone's frazzled and frustrated and overwhelmed with everything, and before you can move forward with all the new stuff that's coming down the pipe, you need to make sure that you've got that handled. So we're going to talk about that. We talk about that a lot. I think with every new situation that comes up, different people get in that state. And it's really, really important to make sure that you handle that before you worry about what to do next.
Well, Debbie's already saying she needs Monday session. So we will see you at noon live right here on Monday.
We will.
Okay. Have a good weekend, guys.
Bye.